Just a minute, sir, please.
So,
Welcome, ma'am. Dr. Arpita Karmakar, welcome, ma'am.
Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone.
okay.
I hope I'm visible and audible in the call as well.
Yeah, ma'am. Well, ma'am, over to you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Good. Thank you for asking. Happy New Year to all of you.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, ma'am. So it is my pleasure to welcome you all again to yet another thought-provoking session in our faculty development program on AI and the startup ecosystem, opportunities and challenges. Today's topic, as ma'am will be delivering, it is on ethical AI guidelines for startups in India. It is of critical importance in the ever-expanding realm of artificial intelligence because as AI continues to shape the future of industries and startups, it is imperative to ensure that its growth aligns with ethical principles and societal values as well. To lead us all in this important discussion, we are very privileged to have with us Dr. Arpita Karmakar, Madam, a distinguished expert in the field of AI ethics and governance. Dr. Arpita is currently working with Wipro Limited as the SAP Global Competency Head, Location Leader of East and DEI Ambassador, where she is responsible for the growth and professional enrichment of the entire SAP competency and carving out success stories of Wipro SAP collaborations as trusted partners. Madam has more than 22 years of rich working experience in some of the best MNCs in the world. Prior to joining Wipro in 2011, she was associated with IBM India as SAP Solution Architect. She started her professional career in 2001 with PricewaterhouseCoopers Service Delivery Center as an application programmer. Dr. Arpita did her schooling from South Point High School, Kolkata, followed by her BE major in instrumentation from Jadavpur University in 2001, PGDBM from XLRI in 2013, and PhD in Management Studies from Techno India University in 2023. Madam has received many awards and recognitions like Best People Leader Award, OTA Award, Young Supply Chain Innovation Award, and she was a face of Wipro Award for multiple years in succession from 2012 up to 2014. Madam is certified DASSM Disciplined Agile Senior Scrum Master. She is certified Scrum Master from Scrum Agile and a certified coach for various management development programs. Other than all that Madam has, she has published various papers on agile adoption for various industries in national and international journals. And Madam is also the winner of the Mrs. India Beauty Pageant of 2022. She is a core committee member of DEI Wipro and EHS ambassador for SAP Wipro Partnership Program. Ms. Karmakar brings a wealth of experience and deep understanding of the ethical, legal, and societal implications of AI. With a career dedicated to promoting responsible AI practices, she has been at the forefront of efforts to create frameworks and guidelines that ensure AI technologies are developed and deployed in ways that benefit everyone. Without further ado, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Arpita Karmakar as she takes the forum to share her valuable insights on this crucial topic. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you for the wonderful setup. I was privileged to be a part of this session. My heartfelt thanks to Dhrubashish and his entire team for accepting me as one of the panelists here. I'm more than thrilled to kind of share my experiences with all of you and hope it becomes a very interactive and a very insightful session for all of us. As I share some of my experience, I'm equally excited to have all of you on board and definitely take up a deep learning value back to me from hearing the experts here, the erudite scholars here, and the magnificent team I'm going to be a part of for the next 1.5 hours. So before I start, Dhrubashish, I found your hand was raised. So if you have something to add, kindly do that. Post that, we'll start our session. Maybe 5 minutes of warm up, and then we can start the session.
Thank you, Dr. Karmakar. It's a great pleasure for all of us to have you here online. You visited our campus a number of times, and students always request us for your session, and that is actually flowing down your batches to junior batches. So this is such kind of mission you all already did are doing to our students. As this FDP is concerned, we are happy to know that more that is country are attending this session. We are always looking forward, and we know that although you are taking this session from a difficulty, but we know that we are this session will be a spellbound one as always you do. Thank you.
Madam, you're muted.
You are muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Professor
was speaking on mute. Yeah, so I just unmuted. Thank you for pointing out. So, Dubashish, before I start the session, can I have a small 2-3 minutes of understanding of the background of the team here? Because based on that, I will modulate and articulate my discussion. So I can see a lot of team members are here. I don't want to go person by person introduction, but at least some overview of the participants here from the background and the diverse nature of their work. If somebody can summarize and tell me, that would be extremely helpful for me.
Okay, ma'am. Most of the participants are the faculty members,
Sure.
who are PG students and scholars, and industry professionals are also here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and the topic is about the startup. So, do we also have entrepreneurs here who are like dealing with AI and startups, anything like that?
Not really, but some person from the industries are here.
Okay, some are from the industry side. No problem. So, let me share my screen. Let me know if it's visible.
Yes, ma'am, visible.
Okay. So I made it a PowerPoint mode. I will not be able to see if the hands are raised up by the participants. Stop me anywhere if you would like to kind of calibrate my session. If you would like me to stop, take a step back and interact and then come back to the main topic, I'm more than happy to do that. But since I'm not able to see any of your faces or any of your hands being raised, being in a screen sharing mode, I'll expect some of you or maybe the anchor can stop me or let me know if there's a question posed or hand being raised. Okay. So responsible AI is what we call in the industry, which includes the 5 pillars of ethical AI. What exactly we mean by responsible AI is that AI is kind of uh, the future innovation for all of us, be it in our personal life, be it in the industry, be it in education, be it legal, everywhere you can see the penetration of AI has been extremely deep. And at times it is also creating a lot of hazards and problems for us, because anything which is disruptive in nature, anything which takes the industry, which takes the world on its claws, definitely has a pro and a flip side. So where AI is the thumb rule, AI is the going forward technology for all of us to adopt and embrace, not saying no to you, no to that. But at the same time, in parallel, we also need to keep in mind that AI is coming to facilitate human being, to facilitate some of the mundane work, to facilitate some of the work which can be better done by the AI platforms, but definitely not at the cost of human benefit. They are not here to replace us. They are here to augment us. So keeping that in mind, every one of us in any role, be it an AI sales architect role, an AI user role, AI coach, or an AI user, or an AI evangelist, whatever may be the roles which we will be playing in our life from AI perspective. In every role, we have to be extremely careful and mindful of being responsible and responsive users of AI. So when we say responsive and responsible user, it definitely includes one of the facets of ethical AI, which is the topic for the day. But beyond ethics also, there are four other pillars of responsible AI, which is empathy, which is not compromising the human value system, which is fairness to all, and above everything, the perspective of being sustainable and the perspective of using AI to our aid, not creating poses or threats for the human ecosystem altogether. So when I say startups, ethical AI for startups, this not only covers the startup companies only, because ethical AI is the thumb rule, is the facilitator, is the platform for each one of us, not only startups, even global MNCs like Google, Microsoft, or IBM, when they are using AI, they are as bound or as accountable to use AI ethically, not only for startups, but of course, for startups, it is more important to have the ethical AI mindset in place because as startups, when we are starting something new, we are not cognizant of the various effects, long-term and short-term, which can be there around us and which can be detrimental in the long run. So for example, an established company, an established MNC like Microsoft or IBM or say Google, who are the top 3 AI innovators and also the top AI users as well, they have their AI ethical guidelines charted out since last 10 years perhaps, or even last 20 years, because they think ahead of time. Even before AI has come to invade the market, they might have thought about the protocols, they might have thought about the best practices, the guidelines and the regulations. So they are very matured in the terms of their usage. However, a typical startup company might not be having that huge bandwidth or even the huge financial exposure or even the huge documentation, guidelines, best practices in their custody to know the steps for having an ethical AI in place. So they might be doing something unknowingly or inadvertently at the beginning, but that might be very much self-damaging in the long run. So definitely when we are using AI for the startups, we are bound by some rules and by some acts. So coming to the context of India, I have the context for both India and the other countries covered in this topic. If time permits, we'll kind of navigate through both. But starting with the Indian context, because all of us are here from the Indian kind of ecosystem. So starting with the Indian setup, the India's AI activities are governed by quite a few and a very elaborate existing laws and policies. To start with, we have the Information Technology Act, which was first published in 2000. And this has a very strong repercussion on the data protection and the penalties for unauthorized disclosure of data. I'll share one example here on my personal life, which has happened only last year. So all of you might be knowing that the CoWIN, the COVID portal, which used to store the database for the Aadhaar cards of Indians and as well as the information on the boosters and the dosage which were being completed by the entire population of India in terms of COVID vaccination. So you have to go for vaccination 1, vaccination 2, vaccination 3 like that. And those information were stored as per the Aadhaar card number in the COVID portal, which was very sensitive for everyone. Okay, so but you must have read this. I'm not sure how many of you are aware that June 9th or June 10th, 2023, there was a hack on this database and a huge amount of Aadhaar card data associated with the vaccination information was leaked out to public. Okay, so what happened is that the repercussion of this was very huge in the entire country. But personally, I have also gone through a challenge. I'll quote that such that you understand that why it is so important for all of us to be very mindful of Data Protection Act and the penalties associated with it, which can not only hamper the companies and the startups and the organization, but also at a very, very personal level. So what happened is on June 7th or June 9th, this particular database was compromised, was hacked, and June 10th or 11th, I got a call from some unknown user with the use of an AI. They are not legitimate startups, but they behave like startups because the intellectual capital, if it's used in unethical and in a governed fashion, it becomes a piracy. It becomes some kind of unadulterated form of schema. But the same set of people are very intelligent also, who are doing all these financial money laundering things on AI-driven applications. They're extremely intelligent. So we as end users, we don't have a foresight to identify or to differentiate between the two, that which is an actually value-added startup who are using AI responsibly, who are using AI with a lot of governance and protocols, or else another company which is just a fake company but using the same AI technology to just fool us around. So for us, it is very difficult. So I was kind of a victim of one of these AI startups. So what happened is that they claimed that they are some startups, and the name was also coming to me when they called me, was that COVID portal of West Bengal government, and it had all the logos, all the trademarks, all the Ashok stamps on it. So it was. I am from IT background, so you can understand. If I'm not able to understand, for anybody else who is not from IT background, is equally difficult for them to understand and decipher that which is the actually responsible, responsive, ethical AI startup versus another company which is a fake company. So I got a call from one of those users, and then they were kind of having all the information with them, my Aadhaar card number, my vaccination dates and everything. And finally they just verified the Aadhaar card number with me, and after that they hacked my bank database and created some problems there with some back-end system optimization. They could actually break some fixed deposits which were in future, like the date of the fixed deposit maturity was in future, but they could actually break it. No ATP verification was done, no links were clicked, but they could do it because they have hacked the Aadhaar database, and they knew my mobile number, obviously, with date of birth and other things. So everything was available to them, and they used those information to actually hijack my bank account and do some transactions which were in future date. So I complained to RBI. Okay, I read this Information Technology Act line by line and found out there were loopholes in the process which I could identify. And thankfully, with help of RBI intervention, I could get a portion of my money back. But it was a very difficult time. And also, I myself could not understand the difference between a fake startup company who kind of advocated that they were doing these campaigns for checking the vaccination data and the health of the person, a survey. Actually, they were fake, completely fake, doing money laundering activities in the back end. So this is not only for the company and the organization, it is very important for all of us to be very mindful of the AI and the usage of AI in everyday life. So along with this Information Technology Act, we have this Personal Data Protection Bill Act passed in 2019 and National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence 2018. So it's not important for all of us to go line by line into all these acts and be a lawyer, but at the face value, all of us should know all these acts to an extent such that we don't fall prey to the scams and the fraudulent activities which is rampant in the market. And as you know, as we speak, every day, every moment, the statistics complain that the fraudulent activities and unethical use of AI is rising at a power of 2 to the power 5 per day per minute. So as we speak also, there are people who are using ethical AI in a very unethical manner, and that is why you find so much of compromised data privacy and compromised personal data being leaked to various people, various places, and we ultimately, as end users, fall prey to it. So, if you are going to have a startup which will be using AI, or you are selling AI, whichever way it is, these three acts are to be consulted with your advocates, with your lawyers, and also you should know as a person a bare minimum summary of these acts to be the first set of users. Okay, so coming to the ethical principles of AI. So AI involves creating and deploying artificial intelligence systems in a manner which should be fair, which should be transparent, and which should be beneficial. So these three terms you can keep in mind, that any usage of AI in any form should be fair, should be transparent, and should be beneficial to the society. Anything beyond these three parameters, if we are using AI for, would be not a part of ethical AI. So our Niti Aayog's responsible AI for all document and the act highlights inclusivity, transparency, and fairness. So now I'll just try to explain you these three terms in a little bit phased manner. So what does inclusivity means? If you see, we all use Google Maps, right, for our direction and road senses. We just put in the address where we want to drive, and the Google Map gives a voice direction to us. That particular voice is definitely, it's not against Google, but since they are an American company, they use a voice which is based out of US accent of English. They have done it. It's free of cost. We are using it. So they are not crossing the limits of ethical AI. But for example, if I have to pay for that service, that Google Map becomes a paid service for us. And many people will struggle to understand the accent of American English and guide them as a navigator, which will be really difficult for a person from say, Spain or Portugal, or even from West Bengal corners of West Bengal or south of India or Middle East, for example, to understand that the accented English very well. In that case, what happens is the AI which we are using is not inclusive of the society. So it should be in a language which should be completely accent neutralized such that everybody understands, or there should be a translation facility available. We cannot be racist, or we cannot be partial to a particular set of people. So that is the first principle, that if you are going to have a AI startup, or if you are going to use an AI application, you have to be inclusive of the entire society. We cannot segmentalize the society and use the AI application for that particular set of people from that particular sector of society. If you are going to do that, then you have to declare in the first place. So that makes that second statement very important, which is transparency. So if you are going to have a startup company, for example, in China, we find this, that they are very open. They are going to use their app. They don't have English as a language medium. They use their apps for their own ethnicity, own people. So they declared that we are not going to publish this as a global AI, such that the usage is limited to only Chinese speaking or Mandarin speaking individuals. In that case, this becomes transparent. But if you are trying to make an application or create something which seems like global, seems like for everyone, but it doesn't cater to all segments of society, then you are lacking in the second pillar, which is the transparency. Okay, so inclusivity and transparency go hand in hand. So if you say something is global, then you have to be inclusive of the global society. Otherwise, you have to be transparent and make sure that your AI systems are understandable and accountable to only that portion of the society. So either you be transparent or you be inclusive. You cannot be not inclusive and not transparent. If that is the case, then definitely there will be legal obligations to it. And of course, the third pillar, which is equally important, which is a fairness to all. So we have to avoid bias. So in case you all know how AI platforms are being trained, there is a operating procedure for it. So for example, it's a chatbot, a simple chatbot I'm using. You are now well aware that if you log into any site, any platform, the moment you log in, there is a chatbot which tries to come and help you. Okay, so why this is done is that because these chatbots are kind of forcefully, or it's kind of implemented as a by default practice to understand the user sentiment. Okay, it's not always for your benefit. Be mindful of that. This, suppose you log into a health portal, there's a chatbot which pops up at the right hand side corner of your screen and tries to help you. It might not be always so easy, might not be always so fair that it's really trying to help you. In the background, this chatbot is actually trying to set up a mechanism of data filtration from your side to the backend business they are running. They might also publish this data to a larger ecosystem. So we don't know. So these chatbots, the way that they are trained is that they first try to identify very simple question answers, like what is your name, for which we have a very objective and a very straight away answer, because my name cannot be anything else apart from my name only, or my age, or my say some Aadhaar card number or some identification number. So they start with that. Okay, your email ID, login procedure. Then they start with questions like yes, no, which cannot be explained. So are you here for some appointment booking? For example, they ask. This answer can be only yes or no. It cannot be something else. So they keep on getting trained slowly by answers which are very much one word, two words in nature. Then they get trained with questions, answers which are yes or no in nature. Then slowly they get trained with answers which has confirmative responses and then descriptive responses. So the way the chatbots are getting trained is by interaction. More and more people interact with them. They kind of build a database in the background, and these are the typical questions asked by the customers, and also get the answers from the experts of the industries and make the database very robust. So every question has an answer. So the interaction of the chatbot with the human interface is always to learn by interacting, like a child does. When a 5 years old child is there in your home, he or she doesn't know anything, but she or he keeps on interacting with the parents, with the teachers, with the associates around, and then they quickly learn the mechanisms of the responses and the question. For example, if the child first touches the fire, she or he is not scared of the fire. But the second time, of course, the child will not go and touch the candle, because she knows that my first interaction with the fire has not been pleasant and I'll not touch the fire proactively. So this is the way of learning. You try, you fail, you succeed, and then you store the information in your brain. It's a human process of learning. So we also replicate a human model of learning through natural language and neuralistic search for the AIs also. So they also try to keep on interact with you more and more to build in that platform in which they get the questions and answers to each one of the interactions, and they know that in future if some user is asking the same question, I have my database ready. I'll go and search the database and I'll give the answer back to the user. So these chatbots, for example, which we are using, unknowingly or knowingly, we are passing on information to them and making them more robust day by day, such that they actually club in this information and use it for future reference. So these AI algorithms now, why the point fairness is very important is that chatbots, for example, are being used by a set of users. It can be, say, for example, a company running these chatbots only for a hospital or a health clinic. So people who come there are mostly not well, because a person visiting the hospital, they are not well. They're not in the best state of their mind and best state of their health. So the answers they give to the chatbots or the answers they give to the survey, all these become biased because they are coming from a particular set of mind. Or for example, also if it's a software which say kind of tries to analyze the sentiment of the user or sentiment of a consumer. But it does happen that when the consumer are entering, they have some preset notions. They can have some already preset ideas in their mind. So when they interact with the bots or when they give answers to the AI algorithms, they might have biases. For example, if an Indian and an American both are coming to the same question, their answers to the same question will not be same. For example, related to marriage, if there are some questions to Indians, we as Indians, we value our families more, we value our marriages more. So even if some compromises are to be made, we are okay with that from an Indian context because we are born and brought up that way. But if the same questions are asked to an American or to a Western Indian person, Western European person, they are very independent minded, they're very assertive in nature, they are brought and they are born and brought up in a very different way, so their answers to marriage will be very different from the answer to an Indian. So there comes the point of bias. So if the chatbots or the AI algorithms are asking questions to a particular set of people from a particular set of culture or ethnicity or a race or a background, then automatically their answers are becoming biased because they are only catering or only interacting with a particular set of people. But that doesn't become a fair option because when you are fair, you have to be neutral. You have to be completely agnostic of the people's caste, creed, and ethnicity. So that way, when you are building an AI algorithm, we have to make sure that we avoid bias. And how do we avoid bias? We have to interact, we have to make the algorithms and make the testing done to a very diverse set of users. So I'll just stop here. If you have any questions, I'll answer them because I'm speaking a lot. And then I can go to the 5 pillars of AI ethics and how ethics by design can help the startups to establish an ethical AI. If no questions, you can just tell me, somebody can just give me a heads up. Okay, so if there are no questions, I take that silence as a no. I move to the next slide. Sorry, yes.
Okay, okay. If there are any questions from the participants, you may please ask now.
Or what you can also do, you can keep it
Okay.
typed in the chat log. You can
Okay, ma'am.
give it in the chat log. And Shukanto, you can tell me the questions. I'll try to answer them, or we can park the questions towards the end of the session.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, whichever works for you, because this is a very heavy topic and it's very important for all of us to appreciate and understand the consequences, repercussion of ethical AI. Okay, I'll go back to the presentation mode again. So you can note it down if you are interested that these are the 5 pillars of AI ethics. As I said, fairness and non-harm to society, data protection, we cannot leak somebody else's personal data without their permission, human autonomy and control, which means that AI is for human, not to replace the human. Transparency, as I said, that if you are going to use your AI applications as a startup for a limited set of people, be transparent and be vocal about it. You cannot hide that data. You cannot tell that it's a global AI, but only use it for a certain set of people. And explainability is the fifth and the most important pillar, that you should be accountable and responsible and able to explain the pros and cons and the ethical repercussions that your application might be having. So if as a startup you are building an AI solution or using an AI solution or facilitating an AI solution, whichever it is, as a startup you are doing, you have to explain each one of them in details according to the rules of the particular country, for the particular sector, area, region, IT acts, all those other legal counsel best practices and guidelines. And you should be at any point in time be owner and be able to explain the entire gamut of AI articulation and the adoption stories. Okay, so these are the various laws, IT Protection Act, the tools which are used for AI regulation in the market, the technology. So these are the 10 stoppers for you, which you should consider before you should start your AI journey. All these 10 stoppers are very important for you to know. I'll share a copy of this particular presentation end of the discussion. So this 10 things, I'm not going into details of each one of them because each one of them are very vast in nature. But these are the 10 kind of thumb rules for you to even go for an AI startup or AI evaluation. This is called ethics by design. So you have to be mindful of all these 10 artifacts, the laws, that IP protection part of it, the AI tools which you can use, the technology which you can use. You cannot just go for open source platform tool, kind of copy some codes from there and use it for your AI build. That is not allowed. How to market the AI, the digital business, how to have the toolings
Madam, sorry
interpretable
to
for
disturb
AI.
you. Actually, there are 2 raised hand and one question in the chat box.
Sure. I'll just come back. So these are the 10 artifacts for you, which will be kind of your handbook or instrumental towards your AI journey. Let me go back to the question. Okay. What happened? The first question is, what happened if one company is okay with an uninclusiveness of the chatbot? Please tell us the
Ma'am,
scope of responsible AI in medical science. Yes.
ma'am, I
Sorry.
have actually asked the question. What I tried to mean is, if some company, if some company is okay with the non-inclusiveness of the nature, like the customer they are coming, I am okay with that customer. I don't want to go beyond that. I don't want to serve everybody. I want to serve a very niche right, type of people. Then I don't
Yes.
have to have that inclusiveness in my
Understood. A very, very
product.
good question, Atri. A very good question. And thank you for asking the question. So yes, if you are okay to serve a particular segment, as I told, it is absolutely fine that I want to say address only a particular set of people, and I don't want to extend my product or services beyond that. It is absolutely okay. But you have to declare that. So that is the second pillar. You have to be transparent about it. So you have to consult your legal counsel that if I don't want to cater to a larger set of people and I'm very fine to cater to a smaller group of my AI application or the user story which I'm using, you have to go and declare that in the first place. Once the declaration is done, there are certain laws which guide you to close the application to a set of people who was limited and you want to cater to. Then those best practices and guidelines are followed. The entire documentation is published to the AI Board of Ethics. Once they give you a green signal, you can use it. But without doing these 4-5 steps, you cannot just sell your AI application or use the AI application to a particular small segment. Does that answer your question, Atri?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So thumb rule is that you can definitely use a smaller group, but before you do that, you have to be transparent and accountable and have all the legal best practices and the terminologies, everything adhered to, publish the report, get a sign off, and then you can use it. Just can't start using. Okay. The next question is by Ajay Singh. Please tell us scope of responsible AI in medical science. Can we use responsible AI to detect lung disease? Okay. So the second part of the question, AI to detect lung disease, I cannot answer because AIs are now used to kind of use across the medical industry. Some of them are using in a very ethical and in a responsive way, but most of the AI usage which we find rampant in the market are definitely not following the best practices and ethical part of it. For example, if you want to use AI in medical science, there are companies which are using the imaging data for early detection of breast cancer, early detection of other cancers, skin cancer, maybe lung disease also. I don't know whether they are using AI for lung disease. They are using it. When it comes to study of the images, okay, study of the images and see the pattern matching of the images. And if the pattern of a diseased person vis-a-vis the pattern of an individual who is having normal health, there's a discrepancy in the pattern, then definitely we can use the AI predictive technology to predict that, okay, the propensity of another person to have this particular disease is high or low. This kind of AI tools and AI services are there in the market. But before you use that, we have to be mindful that we are using the personal data. For example, even if it's an X-ray report, it's a personal data of a person, right? Before using that for pattern matching, for predictive analysis, for statistical analysis, you have to take complete written permission of the family and the patient involved. You cannot just use the data for your own AI adoption and AI training just like that. If you are doing it, then definitely it's unethical. But if you are following a particular protocol, a set of legal approvals, along with complete compliance with the patient party, then it is okay. Otherwise, just like that, you cannot use the patient's data and use it for a predictive analysis for any particular disease. Yes, Amit, you have a question.
Can AI handle recent data? Suppose recent incidents are taking place. So then how it will handle? So how it will handle the recent data, or it will have to be trained again? That will take time.
No, I did understand your question, Amit. Can you just explain? Recent data means what?
Suppose recent incidents are taking place. So if I just type in any AI or in say in Chat GPT, so those things will not be displayed, or those answers we may not get.
Okay, so recency of data, as long as it depends. It depends on the AI and it depends on the platform. For example, if something is there in Google, even one line is there in Google, and you are asking ChatGPT the question related to that particular topic, even if it's as recent as 3 seconds back, it will pick it up. But if there is no mention of that particular data in any form in the web pages, there are trillions of web pages, right? But there has been no mention of that data, then definitely our AI cannot do anything, because it's ultimately a trained data. It cannot be doing something on its own unless and until a mention of that topic is there anywhere. Because it's not an intelligent system which is more powerful than the human intelligence, that it can visualize something or preempt something. Those kind of instances are not possible. But if in the trillions of internet pages, if even one or two lines are mentioned, then definitely it will pick it up by doing a very fast search. Even human brains cannot do that kind of a fast search for obvious reason. But the AI chatbots or the AI tools which are there, it can easily find out crores of pages, trillions of pages. It can just scan in 5-6 seconds and give you some answer. It might be a wrong answer, it might be a right answer. We're not getting into that. But if the mention is there in anywhere in the internet, it will be able to give you the recency of the data also.
Okay, thank you.
Sometimes it also happens that very old data, you talked about recent data, I'm talking about old data. Sometimes, say for example, history books and all, which needs to be referred to for checking the validity of something. For a human being to check that kind of validity, which has happened, say in the year maybe 1846 or something, we are checking something, trying to check, it will take say hours for us to go through the books pages and find out. But now with the e-book library which are maintained on the online portal system, if the same question is asked to the AI partner, they will be able to give you the answers within 5 seconds, 6 seconds flat. For us, it will take a very long time. For example, many lawyers in US have lost their job once IBM Watson came into place. That is because mostly for divorce cases, because in US there are huge amount of divorce cases which are being fought at a very day-to-day basis. A person with a lawyer degree who's a bartender or something, a bar council member, for him to find out whether that divorce can be done or not, it will take bare minimum of a say 6 to 7 days to understand both the parties' sentiments, to understand the legal contractual agreement they're having, because in US marriages are also by contract. So understanding for a human being and coming to a conclusion takes a minimum of 5 to 7 days. IBM Watson, when they invented this tool, if you fit in the profile of the husband and the wife, and it will go and scan all the past data, the criminal records, the bank records, everything which are available to the social system of US, not the social network, but their US Fed systems where they need to maintain certain amount of personal data also. They will check all those things, and within 5 minutes they can tell whether this is a valid divorce case or not. And then it's up to the judge to take a decision. But the propensity of or the meticulous research which is required, that will be done by IBM Watson in 5 minutes, which otherwise takes weeks for a particular lawyer to come up with that kind of an analysis. Okay. How can we ensure that AI systems are fair and unbiased when the data they are trained on many inherently reflect societal bias? Okay. A similar question, who is accountable for decision made by AI systems in higher education? I'll come to this. So first question, how can we ensure that AI systems are fair and unbiased? The only answer to this is when you are training your AI systems or doing a testing, then the data sets have to be first unbiased. You cannot take a biased data set. For example, if it's a question related to your sentiment analysis, then the sentiment analysis should be done across all age, all genders, all types of people in the society. So that is the first thumb rule, that the data sets has to be diverse and data set has to be robust. You cannot just do a sample testing on 10 people and come to a conclusion and feed the data to AI, because that becomes biased. You also cannot do a sample testing on one person of each category and feed the data to the AI and take that as a uh, as a platform or a baseline to start the question answer series with. So that becomes unfair. So the thumb rule is the data set with which the AI should be trained. First, it should be diverse as possible. And number two, it should be robust as possible. Your sample size of testing should be minimum of 10,000 samples to be used. It cannot be less than 10,000. If you're using less than 10,000 samples, then it becomes automatically non-diverse and the chance of bias is very high. Does that answer your question, Shubhrato? Okay, so who is accountable for decisions made by AI systems? I'll come to this question because it's a part of my topic. It's not about higher education only. It's about all the organizations and startups. So this is there. So just wait for the towards the end of the session. Okay, now let me go back to the presentation again. We discussed about fairness. We discussed about transparency and accountability. Okay, now coming to who is the decision maker, which was the question in the chat log itself, that who is the decision maker for ethical AI. So first, there are ethical guidelines and framework from the organizations who are who are owning this. So you have to go through those, for example, IEEE or OECD, who can ensure that AI developments is aligning toward societal value system and the legal value system also. So that is there. So who takes the decision whether we are using an ethical AI or not? Ultimately, these two organizations are the owners of ethical AI. So if there is a question, if there is a controversy, if there is a complaint raised against, so like the Indian jurisdiction system, we go to the Supreme Court as the highest level of our judiciary system. In ethical AI also, we have two embodiments who takes the decision at the level at the final level, that IEEE for India, and for the global marketplace, it's OECD, who ensures that the AI development standards, guidelines are actually following all the rules and the societal value system. We discussed about inclusivity and accessibility. So inclusivity, we discussed that it should include all segments of people, caste, creed, religion. There should not be any bias in terms of culture, language, in terms of ethnicity. What does accessibility mean? So so far we discussed people who are able to speak, who are able to hear, who are able to see. We haven't discussed about people who are having problems in terms of physical ability or in terms of ability in terms of infrastructure or accessibility. For example, if we when we suddenly changed our education system during COVID to online platform, there were people in the villages who are marginalized, who don't have access to data packs, who don't have access to laptops, first time users of computer. Definitely their children and their family suffered a lot when we moved to this online education system. Maybe there were people who were forced out of education also because